Ms. Sillo.
Chair.
Regulation, not rule. Regulation 8(4)B does give you the entitlement after re-examination by the legal representative of a witness to put questions to the witness.
Thank you, Chair.
But it's very late in the day. How long do you think you'll be?
No.
How many issues are you going to address?
If I count them, they'll sound
one,
like me.
and then two. How long do you think you will be?
If I count them, they'll sound many, but they're very quick. It's the point about whether or not there was any objection to his directive to shut down the PKTT. That is the only issue. The meetings held from January. There is the other issue is the Ms. Mashele and Ms. Berger issues, and it just with reference to a specific annexure that Mr. Ngugaidobi brought to the minister's attention, just to point out a minor issue there. Then beyond that, I've dealt with the issue about issues yet to be heard by this commission and on which evidence will be led. So I've disposed of that, and it will just be a comment literally on the point regarding terms of reference. And in fact, I think that point on terms of reference would not exactly be directed to the minister, because if I understood Mr. Ngugaidobi correctly, it was not a question he posed to him, but a comment. I think he invited him to give a response. On second thoughts, if I may, Chair, it's late in the day, I'm exhausted. Maybe I'll do it the same way. I will also deal with the terms of reference in the same manner that Mr. Ngugaidobi did, and I will put forward my own proposition and invite him for a comment, and that will be it. I'm done.
Thank you. Please,
Thank you.
Please start.
Minister, if I may start with your disbandment letter, and that's your SM20, you remember? SM20 is in your file 2. And I want to refer you to page 477. (477). Oh, he pulled it out. Apologies, commissioners. I think the minister did not reinsert SM20. Commissioner Baloyi is. Minister Mchunu,
yes.
Commissioner Baloyi has just come to our rescue so graciously. Just to confirm, the document handed to you is the disestablishment letter that you issued on the 31st of December 2024, correct?
Correct.
I then would like to refer you to page 477 of that letter. 477 of that letter. Page 477.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Which is the second page. And to refer you to the last paragraph on that page before you sign. You anticipated in terms of that paragraph that a preliminary report will be submitted by the 20th of January 2025.
Correct.
Correct? And a final and closing report by the end of January.
Correct.
That final and closing report can only be filed once the disestablishment is complete, and you anticipated it to end by end of January 2025. Do you have a comment to that?
Not exactly. What it says is that you will give a preliminary report
Yes.
on the 20th or whatever, and then there will then be a meeting of UNESCO where
Apologies, Minister. That's not in the letter. I'm confining myself to what's in the letter.
Pardon?
I say I'm confining myself to what is in the letter.
My observation in this regard,
needs his.
I think Jeremy.
we run short of a petrol small.
Oh,
But I'm fine. I have this. It's just that you need to raise your voice.
I will.
Yes. Okay.
I hope it doesn't come across as if I'm shouting at you.
Secretary, please locate Mr. Michaels. Oh.
Yeah, thank you. It looks clear. It sounds clear.
I should also remember not to shout now. Thank you. Is this comfortable?
Yes, I'm very comfortable. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners.
I had drawn your attention to page 477, and we're dealing with the last paragraph. And I would like us to confine ourselves to the wording of that document.
Yes.
And I pointed out that in terms of that letter, a preliminary report in this regard being the disestablishment of the task team was to be submitted to the minister by the 20th of January 2025, correct?
Correct.
Thereafter, the final and closing report would be submitted to the Ministry Management Executive Committee meeting late January 2025, the date of which was to be communicated
Correct.
soon after the issue of that letter.
Correct.
The point I'm making to you is the final and closing report logically only becomes due once the task is completed. And in this regard, the task was the disestablishment of the task team. And I invite your comment to that.
No, it comes after the preliminary report has been submitted.
Yes.
And you would see in the preliminary report, the National Commissioner starts by saying or says somewhere, the letter of your directive is noted, and then it gives the report. So beyond noting is the preliminary report, and beyond the preliminary report, it's then UNESCO. It doesn't necessarily says the final and closing report will come once there has been, in practical terms. I mean, everything will depend on the preliminary report, and then determines the way forward. It doesn't necessarily automatically say that or mean that the task team will have been dissolved by the time we meet at UNESCO.
I understand that what you've just said is in reference to what the preliminary report provided.
Yes.
And I'm not referencing preliminary report, I'm referencing your letter. So the preliminary report could very well have been worded in those terms. And General Masemula, who filed a statement before this commission and testified, and whose statement was made available to you, indicated that after he received your letter, at page 35 of his statement, paragraph 114, he states as follows. Upon his return from leave on the 14th of January, and I quote, "My intention was to discuss the matter with the minister to understand his reasons and attempt to dissuade him. However, the letter contained an instruction to prepare reports that were due by 20 January 2025. If I had refused to carry out this instruction, I would have been accused of insubordination, since all that was required, at least insofar as that instruction was concerned, was a report." That's what he testified to. So that is the preliminary report, correct? The final and closing out report is still due at the end of January.
Correct.
Now, to a question by Mr. Ngugaitobi, whether there was any objection to your directive that PKTT be dissolved or disestablished, you said there wasn't. It was asked of you, had there been, would you have still insisted? And I understood you to say, no, you would not have. Did I understand you correctly?
That no, I wouldn't have done what?
You wouldn't have insisted on the disestablishment if there had been any resistance or objection, particularly from the subs-establishment.
Yes, if the response of the National Commissioner was that, look, I have a problem, 1, 2, 3, or difficulty, I would have been open to a discussion or engagement.
But that's precisely what Annexure SFM 11 to General Masemula's statement, which is the preliminary report. That's precisely what he told you.
What did he tell me?
It argued against disestablishment.
The preliminary report of the
Yes.
22nd.
Of the 22nd, yes.
I don't understand it to have done so.
Okay, it's on record. The commissioners will consider it in the context as I suggest. If anything,
Mr. Chairman, is it not fair that it must be put to the witness and the imputation
Yes,
that is
can
lying
you
must also be drawn to him?
please be more specific?
I shall. The problem is it arises in a different context, so it's not even part of the exhibit files, so it's not available. Only the statements have been made available as part of the exhibits.
Ms. Silome, if you have it electronically,
Yes, I do.
can it not be projected?
If that would be acceptable to the commission and to the minister,
Yeah.
I'll do so. If just a second one.
Is it not SM25? You just check, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Kumalo. It's correct. The minister put it up as Annexure SM25. Yes, I confirm it's SM25 starting at page 537 and at 564. And the date of 22/01/2025. Now, as of the 22nd of January, and we know already that about 9 days later, the 31st of January, the final and closeout report is expected. At page 563 of that report, after an argument had been advanced for what General Masemula and the SAPS team considered to be a phased-out approach, I'd perhaps to draw your attention to item Roman 5, The current capacity of the National Task Team will be gradually scaled down to only personnel who are required to finalize the dockets retained by the task team. The scaling down of the team will depend on the 115 case dockets that are currently pending at courts, with most of the court dates in the year 2025. It is anticipated that the team will complete the work before the end of the year 2025. However, the seriousness of the cases and the processes at court will indicate the course of action. So the report is pleading for breathing space until at least the end of the year 2025. And it's in that context, I say it cannot be that the minister can say that there was no pushback to the notion of disestablishing by end of January 2025, as the letter suggests, by demanding a final and closeout report by then. Do you have a comment?
No,
I'm sorry, Ms. Sillo, I might have misunderstood. I thought reference was to an objection to the very idea of a disbandment. I thought that's what Mr. Ngubatobi's question related to. I might have misunderstood. And the point you are raising addresses a different issue, which is the phasing a disbandment that is taking place or is to take place gradually. So there is an initial acceptance, as it were, of the disbandment, but gradually.
Chair,
But as I say, I might have misunderstood the question altogether.
Perhaps I misunderstood, but I'll take it on those terms. I had read out General Masemula's statement where he said he intended, when he returned from leave, at paragraph 114 of his statement for the record, where he says, since that letter was, the report was to be prepared by the 20th of January 2025, that's the beginning of paragraph 114. Given that I would be on leave until 14 January 2024, I instructed Brigadier Litruko of my office to forward the letter from the minister to all deputy national commissioners to instruct them to prepare the necessary reports. After that, he says, my intention was to discuss the matter with the minister to understand his reasons and attempt to dissuade him. And I interpret that to be to dissuade him from the conclusion and the definitive instruction that disestablishment be concluded by end of January. He says, then he speaks to the preparation. However, the letter contained an instruction to prepare reports that were due by 20th January 2025. If I had refused to carry out this instruction, I would have been accused of insubordination, since all that was required, at least insofar as that instruction was concerned, was a report. My interpretation of what the general is saying is that he doesn't support the whole notion of disestablishment and the requirement for both the preliminary, and I take it, then the final report. However, he seems to have feared that if he failed to carry out that instruction, he would be accused of insubordination. So I don't read what he's saying as I received the instruction, I noted, and I was happy to execute. And
I don't understand that to go beyond what his own thoughts were, because the question relates to what was actually communicated to the minister. So his own ideas or thoughts do not appear to have been communicated to the minister. It does not get to my understanding of Minister Ngubatobi's question.
Then it is in that context, then I read only item 5 of that report. I read that conclusion, because that conclusion, I guess in contract it would be called counteroffer. That counteroffer is wholly inconsistent with what the minister intended to achieve by end of January. And I say at least that report would have indicated that there is no agreement or there is no support for his instruction.
Perhaps purely in the interest of time, I will allow that. But I understand that part to relate to the question of immediacy or otherwise, which is not the same thing that Mr. Ngubetobi was raising. Yes.
I'll leave it at that, Chair. I have made the point. It would then lead us to the report of the next report. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Maybe before you do that, let me check something. Minister, General Masemula, in his statement and evidence, said that he spoke to the president. He was unhappy with the decision. That's what he says. And this arises in the light of this conversation, that he spoke to the president about the issue. And he gives a date. He says on the 1st of February 2025, in a meeting. And then he says, during this meeting, I mentioned the minister's decision to disband. The president told me he would speak to the minister. Did that happen? Did you have a conversation? Did the president speak to you on, I don't know when, but the general says he had a meeting with the president on the 1st of February.
Yes, commissioners, there was a meeting either on the 13th or on the 23rd with the president, which I requested. And in that meeting, the sole purpose was to just brief the president on the developments around that decision to disband. And it did happen.
Well, I think what I'm checking is whether the president, did he alert you or mention to you his conversation with General Masemula, that General Masemula spoke to him about this issue?
No.
The president did not?
No.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, maybe my co-commissioner should clarify the date, because I had understood you to say you briefed the president before this discussion between the president and General Masemula. So, and I see your counsel is nodding, so it looks like our understanding is aligned. So maybe the date should be clarified so that you answer the question fully.
Yes, I wouldn't know when National Commissioner met the president, but I'm referring to myself that it was either the 13th or the 23rd.
In February?
No, in January.
In January?
Yes, okay. Mine was in January.
All right. Well, General Masemula says that he met on the 1st of February. No. So maybe let me ask my question then. After the 1st of February, or any date from the 1st of February, did the president speak to you or mention to you that General Masemula had spoken to him about the issue of the disbandment?
No.
Thank you, Minister.
Let me just clarify two issues. Your discussion with the president in January 2025. Did you show the president your letter of 31 December 2024?
No, I briefed him about the letter and about why I wrote such a letter. That is what happened. I didn't show him. And I spoke about it.
Did you tell him what process you followed before issuing that letter of 31 December 2024?
No.
So for all we know, the president could have assumed that you had discussed it with the people within the SAPS and that was a collective decision.
Well, it's difficult to go into the president's mind.
No, but I'm saying for all we know, because he would have been none the wiser about whether you received briefings and you consulted, because you didn't tell him that part.
Yes, I'm making that statement that I requested the meeting, it was granted, and I briefed him about, one, the fact that I took a decision to dissolve PKTT, and I did so, and I'm hearing that there are some reactions, and this is why I did it. It was just that way of talking.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Sir, can I? Minister, I thought in your discussion with Mr. Ngugaitobi, you said that the first time you knew that there was unhappiness was with the media conference of the 6th of July. I know you referred to Ngabinde telling you, Mr. Ngabinde rather, telling you that he spoke to General Mkhwanazi, but it was a conversation between them. But obviously that's not good enough to take to the president. I thought your evidence is the first time you officially became aware of unhappiness is only in July. But now you're saying when you spoke to the president in January, you already knew there was unhappiness about it. So I'm confused. Maybe I misunderstood something in your evidence.
No, I was referring to that conversation between General General Mkhwanazi and the Chief of Staff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. If I then can turn to page 43 of General Masemola's statement, annexure, I think we had it open already, exhibit, yes.
Do I need to go on that?
And it's CJC 53.1 for the record. And at page 43.
What paragraph? The page? Page?
At page 43, paragraph 135.
Ms. Silo, the page itself has 42, 42, and 43.
I think it's the bigger number that appears on, I think it's a recycled document, unfortunately. So, but looking at the rest of the files.
Maybe paragraph number?
135. Have you located the page and paragraph?
Yes,
Minister? Thank you.
Correct.
Paragraph 135 notes as follows. Well, it's a reference to the meeting of the 6th of March that you spoke to earlier, and I think you highlighted in your engagement with Mr. Ngugaitobi. If you go further down on that, in that paragraph, sixth line from the bottom, General Masemola explains that another presentation was then made on the 6th of March. Remember, we had looked at SFM 11, but this time he says the presentation is SFM 12. And he continues, after Lieutenant General Khumalo presented the briefing note to the minister, the Deputy National Commissioner of Policing and I were in favor of the plan, which, as we understand it, is an improved plan from the previous one of the phase-out approach. But the Deputy National Commissioner of Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Sibia, and the Chief of Staff of the Minister of Police, Mr. Nkabinde, were against the plan. They were in favor of immediate disbandment. And over leaflet 44, paragraph 136. And this 136, General Masemola notes the following. The minister was adamant in the same meeting and supported by Lieutenant General Sibia and Chief of Staff that the dockets had to be returned to the stations of origin and not to another unit or structure in KZN. The minister also made it clear that the phased-out approach or winding down of the disbandment of the PKTT must be finalized during 2025. Now, I just read out the testimony of General Masemola. to point out to you that, Minister, it cannot be said that General Masemula and senior management of SAPS did not express disquiet at the instruction to disband and disband immediately as contained in your letter. Because I had thought that you had reached agreement with Mr. Ndugaidobi that you were wholly unaware that there was resistance or lack of support for your directive. Do you have a comment?
The comment, based on my statement, is that in the report of the 22nd and in the presentations, 5 March, 6 March, there was no objection to the directive. And how National Commissioner made his presentation of a phased approach and all of that was not to say, or didn't amount in any way to saying we're against the directive. All it did was to say we propose that it be done in this particular way. And therefore, I was agreeable to that. As I indicated that any response, I would be open to engagement. There was a report, there was this presentation, I was indeed agreeable to it.
Thank you, Minister. I want then to move on to the next point that Mr. Ndugaidobi covered with you, and this is the issue of the human rights abuse allegations that in your statement originally you had said you had taken...
Before we go there,
Yes.
maybe we should complete the exercise. After the 27th March meeting, Minister, General Masemola, General Khumalo say you were angry and you did not want to engage further. And that's the last engagement they had with you regarding the disbandment and the PKTT. Because you were angry with them that they were taking 2 additional dockets. And after that date, you did not engage with them further. Is that correct?
Yes, because the whole process was then taken over by Commissioner National Commissioner Masemula.
Thank you, Commissioner Khumalo. I then want...
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if the witness actually understands because there were 2 questions. The one was, were you angry? The other is, did you not consult? Maybe we should just clarify that.
To be fair, I should take you to where the engagement ends. It is paragraph 142 and 143, same bundle. Masemola statement. So let me read paragraph 142. At some point during the meeting, the minister stated that he did not understand why we were so adamant that the PKTT must not be disbanded. Do you see that, Minister?
Yes, I see.
Which means as they were adamant that the PKTT should not be disbanded. That's what General Masemola says. And then it continues, paragraph 143. The minister stated that it took a political decision to establish the PKTT. Therefore, it will take a political decision to disband it. Do you want to comment on that sentence?
143.
Yes. Is that what you said at the meeting?
Yes.
Yes. And then the next sentence, the minister directed that there will be no further meetings regarding the matter and any further engagements would be held with me only as the national commissioner. However, the minister and I had no further engagements regarding the PKTT. But the point of that, and I thought that is what was being put to you by Advocate Senzo, was that you did not understand why they were so adamant that the PKTT should not be disbanded. And you said it took a political decision to establish PKTT, therefore it will take a political decision to disband it. And you said you won't have any further engagement with the bigger team, you will only engage with the National Commissioner going forward. But after that meeting, there were no further engagements.
No, this was no longer about disbandment per se, it was about dockets. That there was an additional docket, and I said, but we agreed last time on the 6th of March that there wouldn't be any addition. And I said, this matter I'll discuss with National Commissioner.
No, but Minister, what I referred to you was paragraph 142, which is specific. They said you did not understand why they were so adamant that the PKTT must not be disbanded. Now, that seems to suggest they did not want the PKTT to be disbanded, and you did not understand why they were so adamant that it should not be disbanded.
It's not accurate, because at no stage was anyone adamant. Remember, we're from the meeting on the 6th. And in principle, we agreed that the phased approach up to 2025, end of the year 2025, will then go ahead. And we said, just check. There were things like, if you say a member will handling a docket, which is in court already.
Minister, I don't want to go into the issue of dockets because then it involves General CBO.
Okay, no. This is not accurate.
Let's just confine ourselves to those two paragraphs.
It's inaccurate.
And then 143, which you have already confirmed. The only reason why...
Sorry, Commissioner. It is even inaccurate in the sense that in the other page that you went to first, talks about Chief of Staff and Sibia, that they were the ones who were talking and saying 1, 2, 3. But at the end of the meeting, when we summarized, the principle of a phased approach was agreed. And then there would be smaller amendments, which we then convened on the 27th to hear and to see.
I wanted to avoid the reference to General Sibia because it raises other issues we don't want to discuss. So lastly, Minister, why would you then say it took a political decision to establish PKTT, therefore it will take a political decision to disband it? If there was agreement that it should be disbanded, or at least there was no opposition, why would you say it took a political decision to establish, therefore it will take a political decision to disband? What would be the point of that statement?
Possibly it was during the conversation. I don't know whether before, at what point during the meeting that remark was made, or what it was clarifying. And to me, it doesn't indicate anything beyond. It doesn't indicate that there was necessarily any resistance. I don't want to be untruthful here to say at any point General Masimula resisted or he objected, because I wouldn't have evidence to say what is it that he did, what is that he said that showed what I'm talking about. This must have been a conversation rather than an objection, as I'm talking about.
And without taking any further time, you can confirm how the engagement concludes. On the next page, the first 3 lines?
Yes.
Is that how it concluded?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Kumalo. I was ready to move on to the next issue, and this is the issue of the human rights abuse and the accounts by Ms. Mashele and Ms. Berger. Mr. Nkaitobi took you through that, you recall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, in my recollection, when when we're leading your evidence and we reference Ms. Mashele's claims, you disavowed any reliance on any of her postings where she made the allegations that she did. Do you recall that?
I recall that.
And as a consequence, because of that disavowal, we never engaged with the content of her posts. Is that correct? Because you said, I did not rely on them. You offered information that you had cause for investigation into her to be conducted, and you drew the conclusion, whatever conclusion, I don't remember the detail thereof that you drew, but effectively that you can't rely on her. So you never relied on her in considering the issue of disbanding the political killing stars team. That was my understanding of your evidence today.
We then came back.
Apologies?
We then came back to the house, and at the time when I was led by Senior Counsel Gubaitobi, we went back to that statement.
Indeed.
And he asked me to clarify exactly what my position is.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, I did say I would receive, or I received, and I read what she was saying in whatever media front. And at the end of the day, that reading, that even if I didn't react to it by writing back and so on, the fact of the matter is I read and looked at all, and I made an example of Mpumalanga and so on. The effect of it in what I mean, what I meant when I was asked to finally clarify that, I did say and I did acknowledge that I did get influenced by that. In other words, the fact that I read and I understood what she was saying, and it would mean that in some way or the other, and we even spoke about the weight, and I'm removing the issue of waiting. Somebody said, so in the waiting, you would put it and so on. And I said, yes, but it wasn't necessarily to say, and this is what I corrected, that kind of confusion that ensued in our conversation. So my final statement and position is that I did read. And because I did read in one way or the other, it would have played a role in what I indicated in those paragraphs on human rights.
Minister, the record will show, it's a running transcript, it will show that you unequivocally disavowed any reliance on those Facebook posts when I was leading you. It is as a result of that the issue of weight arises. And I'll remind you, it arises in this context. If you did not consider them at all, if they did not sway your view about PKTT and whether or not to disband, what weight are you suggesting the Commission should attach to them? That is the context in which the weight issue came up, not what weighting you gave. Secondly, I put it to you that your response to Mr. Ngugaitobe does not amount to clarification. You have changed your evidence in totality as regards the influence that those posts had on your decision. Do you have a comment on that?
I would want to take us back to the statement, because the issue of clarifying arose from what I said in our conversation and what is in the statement, to say it is confusing. And because there's something that I wrote here about those what I read on Facebook and elsewhere, and what I read about De Haas and Ms. Becker, to say it can be because it's here in the statement. That is what I was clarifying, to say, well, I may as well acknowledge in the clarification that those things that I read would have played a role.
It's late in the day, and I think we are all exhausted. I'll rely on the record in this regard, but I will point out to you, you have today testified on the same issue, and you have assumed two contradictory positions. And you flipped on your original position when Mr. Ngugaitobi sought quote-unquote clarity. In fact, I sought to engage you on Ms. Mashele's posts and their content precisely because of what you have stated in your statement. I was taking you there when you assured this commission that they played no role at all in your decision. I'll leave that point there. The record will speak for itself.
I'm not contesting the record. What I'm saying is that in the statement, I acknowledge that I said 1, 2, 3 in the written statement. And in the conversation between you and me, what happened, and not you and me, in the conversation about this in the commission, I said something that is not necessarily what I said here. I acknowledged afterwards. And then I sought to clarify what exactly I want to say about that. So it's not a question of contesting what is on record.
I note, thank you, Minister. I then want to move to the question of Ms. Berger, and you deal with that at your page 32, you recall, of your statement. And in that statement, to Commissioner Baloyi's questioning, you
Page
indicate
32 of my
of your statement, yes.
32.
32. You indicated that, and here I think you indicated that you were not relying as well on what Ms. Berger had stated. And if I'm wrong, the record will disprove me, but that's not my point. In seeking clarification from you, Mr. Ngugaitobi referred you to annexure SM16, correct? That's your annexure, and it's volume 2, and annexure 16 starts at page 3. Yes, 339. And that he explained, and we know from page 427, is the affidavit of Sarah Pearl Berger. Do you confirm that at 427? At page 427, that's her signature, Ms. Berger's signature?
Yes.
And I see that that affidavit was deposed to and sworn to on the 26th of September 2025. If you see the date there,
Yes.
you see it. So we can discount the contents of this document as having informed your decision of the 31st of December 2024 for the simple reason that it did not exist at the time. Can you accept that? At the time you took the decision on the 31st of December 2024, Ms.
This
Berger's
document, yeah.
affidavit did not exist because
Yes,
it only
this
came
document.
into existence on the 26th of September 2025.
Yes,
Yes.
it didn't exist as such.
Yeah, so it cannot have, you
But-
cannot have taken that into consideration in making your decision of the 31st of December 2024.
Except to say reports.
I would like to confine my question to the affidavit for the moment, Minister. So either you took the affidavit into consideration or you didn't.
This affidavit.
Yes.
No, I'm saying,
Minister, look this way. Thank you.
Yes.
The question that is being asked is that this affidavit did not exist on 31 December 2024. So when you took your decision on 31 December 2024, you did not consider this affidavit.
I'm trying to check the first dates that it appeared or anything about Ms. Becker appeared in the media, because there may be a difference between this affidavit and the appearance of the story about it. I'm trying to check what is
No, Minister, let's focus only on the affidavit.
Okay.
This affidavit did not exist
Okay.
on 31 December 2024.
Okay.
So you could not have taken the affidavit into account. You may have taken something else into account. It was just not this
Not this affidavit.
Yes. So let's
Point
leave that
taken.
way.
Thank you, Commissioner Kumalo, and thank you, Minister, for that clear response. What you took into account is actually set out in your statement from page 32. And from paragraph 87 to paragraph 89, you actually quote two newspaper clippings, an article published by Daily Maverick on the 20th May 2024 regarding the arrest of two lawyers. And you deal with that from your paragraph 90, you see that.
Yes.
If we move forward to page 34, there's another article you reference dated the 21st by EWN, dated the 21st of May 2024. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's turn back to the first article. And at page 33,
I see that.
it states, in what the pair described as quote unquote an unnecessary dramatic show, Berger and Conradi were arrested on 28 March by about 24 members of the National Task Force and the National Intervention Unit. You see that?
Yes.
They were flown to East London in a private jet.
Yes.
I have looked at the remainder of that article as you have quoted it. I don't see a reference to PKTT. I'm correct that there is no reference to PKTT in that article, because that article claims that the arrest was effected by the National Task Force and National Intervention Unit, both of which I am confident you are familiar with. They are units within SAPS, but they are not the PKTT. Am I correct?
These articles, I'm trying to see what she actually claimed herself.
I may have missed the reference to PKTT, but I couldn't find it.
Okay. I see that.
I beg your pardon?
I see what you're saying.
Also, you see in a sense that you confirm there is no reference to PKTT.
In that article.
Yes. Now, at paragraph 92, you introduced the second article I referenced, the EWN article of 21st May 2024. In that article, the opening line reads as follows. The following month, Berger and Horizon's owner, Bradley Conradi, were arrested by the Hawks and flown by a private jet to East London. I looked through the remainder of that article as well, and I don't see reference to PKTT. Am I reading it correctly?
I don't see that as well. I see Hawks reference.
As the Hawks. And once again, the Hawks is a different unit within SAPS. Yes. The only time one sees the PKTT is at your paragraph 95, page 35. And now those are your words. You introduce a PKTT by saying, it is now public knowledge that Ms. Berger has since requested to give evidence before Madanga Commission about the abuse and violation of her rights perpetuated by the members of the NPKTT during her arrest. And now we know that the NPKTT, according to the articles you rely on, the arrests were effected by STF, NIU on the one occasion and the Hawks on the other occasion. Now, I'm not going to, I don't want to open the debate of the accuracy of the article, but I'm saying that is the article as you had it on the 31st of December 2024, and that's what you took into consideration. All right?
I see.
If you did, notwithstanding the fact that to Commissioner Baloyi, you had indicated you had not. I refer you to this merely to point out that what the clarification you provided to Mr. Mugaitobe was in truth not a clarification, but an amendment of the actual content of the news clippings as you have quoted them and had relied on them in December. Do you have a comment?
For sure, I would need to check whether the referencing was correct in terms of the articles, but I agree.
Okay. Then the last issue was you were referred to both SM17 and SM18, and I was perhaps I didn't quite understand what clarity was sought from you. And you made a comparison of the two, and you said I think it was a question about the level of detail that's contained in the one and not the other, if my note is not deceiving me. Do you recall, do you remember that to have been?
I think with regard to the one at 455, as I understood it, there was emphasis on opening in the header with request as opposed to how the other one opens. And then, of course, I'm sure there would have been something with regard to the content as well. But there was some emphasis about or on open code request close code. I hope I understood correctly.
The chair was trying to help me there, or tried to help me, and I think it probably is correct. So your issue really is about the difference in the level of detail provided in each case. I don't know if I'm at the right one, because the one at SM17 is the 2018 information note. Minister, do you recall if you were referred to 18 and Mr. Ngugaitobe, are you able to assist? Because now I seem to have gotten my numbering wrong.
Yeah, no, I can help. So it's SM 17 and 18. SM 17 is 428.
Yes, 428.
Yes, and then SM 18 is 455.
Okay. Now
So those are the 2 pages you just need to keep your finger on.
Yes, thank you for that. I thought that's what was said, and then I proceeded to confuse myself. Sorry for confusing you, Minister. The information note, as I read it on SM17, from the heading, if you can confirm, it's implementation plan, investigation of political related cases, KwaZulu-Natal, from 2018-07-01 to 2018-12-31. Do you see where I'm reading?
Yes.
And you'll confirm that that date, that period, was actually shortly after the establishment of the IMC.
Yes.
And this is a funding request by the task team for funding when it started the work. It's in 2018. Do you also read it that way?
Yes.
And if we go to SM 18, that information note as a heading, request for financial authority for 2024-25, and refers to the National Task Team as well, the PKTT team. It provided in either document, and you say it's not the same. The one is extensive and the other is not.
Correct.
Just to check, what would be the challenge with that?
There was no challenge. It was merely to point out that the difference is in relation to the extension vis-a-vis requests for money for funding. That was the issue.
In fact, I was not off the mark because SM 17 is made up of a few documents. The actual document that Mr. Ngugaitobi referred you to is at 446. That is the document that was compared with SM 18, if you go to page 446. And you pointed out that the heading of this one at 446 is progress report and request for project extension. Do you see that heading?
Yes.
You then compared it with SM 18 at 455. That was the exercise that was undertaken.
We compared SM 17.
SM 17, but only from 446, because the entire SM 17 starts with other documents from 428. The page that Mr. Ngugaitobi directed you to is 446. So those were the two documents you compared. And both are information notes. The one is headed Progress Report and Request for Project Extension.
446 is 2021.
2021, yes. 23rd March 2021.
Yes.
Correct. Then you compared it with the one appearing at 445. 455. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And that is now for 2024-25.
Yes.
And so we looked at the heading of the one at 446. We know that it says it's a progress report and request for project extension. But the one on 455 the heading doesn't read that thus. I readily concede. It states request for financial authority for 24-25.
Correct.
Now, it was suggested, or I understood that it was suggested to you, and maybe I'm wrong, that there was no extension in 2024-25, and I thought you agreed. Am I correct or
Correct.
I misheard?
Correct.
If you, yes, 24-25, if you look at, stay at 455, to the bottom of that page, item 5, I read that note, the following on that note: the decision has been taken to extend the period of the National Task Team and the appointment of Lieutenant General S.D. Kumalo as the project manager for financial year 2024-25 due to the following reasons, and then overleaf it starts and tabulates reasons. So this one at 455, request for financial authority, and confirms in the body of the document that that decision to extend has already been granted. Do you still maintain that there was no extension?
Yes, if you look at that information note,
Yes.
it talks about financial requests. That is the point that we're making.
Yes.
It doesn't talk about extension, doesn't give any report as the other reports would have done.
It doesn't give reports. And I suggest that it doesn't do so because the extension had already been granted. This one is specifically for financial authority, as opposed to the other one, which was for extension, and therefore to justify extension, it provides a more extensive report and then requests for financial support. What's your comment to that?
Is that this is what I was referring to. This is what I had access to without that report spoken about. But this is what I have.
Okay. And lastly, you remember when I started, I hadn't made up my mind whether it's a question or a comment. It was suggested regarding the terms of reference. And Mr. Ngukaidobi read out the term of reference that he considers relevant to you by virtue of the position you occupy, being a member of the executive. You recall that?
Yes.
And would you accept that whether or not that particular term of reference has been met cannot be determined at this juncture because even you haven't concluded your evidence before the commission? It can only come into consideration once at least your evidence has been concluded, and we are not there yet. Would you accept that?
No, he asked me a specific question, and I responded to it.
Yes.
Despite the fact that evidence had not been led.
Yes.
Yes, and I responded.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think the record fairly shows what your response was.
Yes.
Chair, those were my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sello.
Minister, just two short clarifications. The one and it may well be that I misunderstood your discussion with Mr. Ngukaidobi. It's about the involvement of Mr. Pikoli. You have filed an affidavit from him. Now, in your statement, I will read for you what you said at paragraph 162. You say, before finalizing the directive of 31 December, I sent the draft to my special advisor for his inputs and comments. That's what you say, and that's what you said in your oral evidence. And then you say this was part of an ordinary internal quality assurance process within the ministry. And then he reviewed the draft and he sent back to you, and I would like to read that into the record. And then I'll check whether my understanding of what you said is correct. He writes, you quote, "Thank you, Minister. May I suggest the following possible amendments? Add paragraph 2 to substitute the sentence starting with National Commissioner must develop a new plan, close quote, with the following, open quote again, I, in terms of section 2072, direct that you develop a new plan, close quote." And then you quote again, you say, he said, add paragraph 2.1. You say this is what he said, insertion or addition of ports of entry and exit. And then you then refer to add para 2.2. He said comprehensive operational and remedial action plan based on a policy of rotation of staff members. And then lastly, you quote him as saying, I'm happy with the rest. And then he says something in Portuguese. I will not try to say it. In English, I think it says a happy and prosperous new year. I have understood when you testified that this is the sum of Mr. Pikoli's involvement with your letter. You wrote the letter yourself. You told us that I wrote the letter myself and then I sent it to him. Am I correct in that understanding?
That's correct.
Okay. So there is no separate act where you asked him for advice on this letter. The sum of his involvement is what you describe at 162, where you say you sent it for his inputs and comments, and then he responded that way. That's the sum of Mr. Pikoli's involvement in this letter.
Correct.
All right, thank you. Now, where he says in his affidavit, I guess maybe let me not even go to his affidavit. I think you've answered me. And then lastly, this one really, it's for me to not leave this place confused about what in fact is the position and whoever has been listening to evidence. Now, you said to Mr. Toby that the PKTT, and I'm not quoting you verbatim, does cold cases in fact. You remember you said something to that effect. That's what the PKTT does. It deals with cold cases. Did I mishear you? If I misheard you, please say so and I'll stand corrected.
I did make reference to say in a chat with the former National Commissioner, he made mention of cold cases, saying by and large what PKTT deals with is cold cases.
Okay. You were not saying that's all that they deal with?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm clarified. Thank you. Chair, thank you.
Minister. Thank you very much. We will adjourn and we will resume in the new year on a date to be announced. Thank you very much to everybody gathered here.